Hello everyone. Today I'm going to talk about a common misconception where I often heard a lot of my students talk about, and they may not fully understand what does this term bring over means. Okay, so over here we have a very simple quadratic equation. The first step would be expansion of this algebra. So we can use this rainbow method, right? Multiply a across in the bracket, and now we will need to bring over one of the term, right? Usually why do I bring over the right hand side into the left hand side? It's because I want to keep a square here. Usually I try to keep the side which has the a square, or which have the higher power. That would be easier to deal with. Okay, so now when we bring over, you guys know you have to inverse the sign. So from positive 3a, this is actually a positive 3a, right? It will become negative. And now from a negative 1, it becomes positive. Okay, and now we have a very simplified quadratic equation, and then it can be reduced to this. So a equals to negative 1. Okay, this is very easy. However, what happens if you have another example? So now we have another example. 7 minus 5a plus a squared equals to 2a plus 5. Okay, so now we need to think about how do we arrange this in a neat fashion. As we can see that it's not in this manner, right? It's not in this x squared plus bx plus c, right? It has to be in this format. Okay, so when we are rearranging, right, do we invert the sign? Should we invert the sign? So maybe this is like plus 5a minus 7 equals to 2a plus 5. Is this correct? Okay, pause the video and think about this. So is this, should we invert the sign, right? Because we see that in example 1, we have inverted the sign, right, when we bring over, right? So if you have gotten your answer and the answer is yes, you need to study, or you need to sign up for my tuition, because the correct answer is actually no. And the reason for this is because over here we see that 3a plus 1 is crossing the equals line, right? So when you cross this equals line, you will have to invert the sign. But over here you can see that the left hand side, okay, I'll just label this left hand side and this is the right hand side. We can see that the left hand side has not crossed the equal sign, right? It has not crossed, so it didn't cross the equal sign. So in this case, we don't call it bring over, we just call it rearranging. Okay, and now I want to explain what does bringing over means, right? So you can see that now when we bring over, we invert the sign, but I want to work this out to give you more clarity, right, on what is happening, because a lot of students simply do and then they say, oh, I just memorize, this is a way to do it. But if we use understanding, you will definitely remember. There's no need to worry if you forget during exams, right? Because understanding retains a stronger memory, right, than just memorizing. So now I'm going to show you what does it mean to bring over. Okay, what is actually happening. To bring over, we are simply removing a term. Okay, so you see now, how do I make this into a 0? How do I make this into a 0? I have to minus 3a, okay? I have to minus 3a first, and then I have to plus 1. You see, whatever I'm doing here is like a counter measure, right? So I'm saying is to counter this, right? I don't know if some of you play games, but if it's a positive, we make it a negative. If it's negative, we make it a positive, right? So we counter it, so now it becomes 0, right? 3a minus 3a, this will be 0. Negative 1 plus 1, this will be 0. So everything on the right hand side will be 0. Okay, so when we remove a term on the right hand side, we have added this additional, okay, I call this extra thing, right? So we have added this extra thing. So when we add this extra thing, we need to do the same for the left hand side. Okay, so minus 3a and plus 1. Now we have this illusion of bringing over, right? See, so basically on a weighing scale, right, if this is a rectangle equals to a rectangle, I'm just adding triangle and a triangle. I'm just adding the same thing. Okay, so if I add the same thing, it will always balance, right? That's why the weighing scale is always balanced. Okay, don't mind my drawing. but it's supposed to be straight. Yeah, so this is the meaning of bringing over. And when we invert a sign, right, see over here is negative 3a instead of positive 3a, and here is plus 1 instead of negative 1, right? When we invert a sign is when we cross the equals line, right? So this is one trick to remember. Another way to remember is just by understanding, which is we are removing a term, right? And now when we remove a term, the right side will be equals to 0. And now we can continue writing our left hand side, right? Because we have removed this term, right? And then when we remove a term on the right hand side, we added this extra thing in orange. And once we added this extra thing, the weighing scale is no longer balanced. Therefore, we need to add this extra thing on the left hand side. And yeah, tada, we have balanced the equation. So I hope you have a better understanding of when to so-called bring over and when to simply just rearrange, right? So to write the correct algebra, this will not be inverted. The signs should remain the same. Okay, if it's empty here, it's positive. Yeah, the sign should remain the same because we have not bringing over. We are just rearranging, right? It has not crossed the line. You see this line? It has not crossed. Okay, so I hope this clears up this misunderstanding of bringing over, right? So when you say bring over, you can use the term bring over because it's a short form, you know. But when we say it bring over, you have to think about, okay, I'm removing a term and I'm balancing it on the other side. Okay, I hope this clears up the misunderstanding, and I will see you for other videos.